Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a new video, and it's been a while, I must admit, but this time up we're going to be looking at a race I did a few weeks ago against the very best drivers you'll see on ACC, an absolute grid stacked with aliens, and the format's very simple. It was a 15-minute quali followed by a 1-hour race. So without further ado, let's go and have a look and see how we got on in qualifying. And so we joined the action on the exit of the final corner, and we're currently 9th. It's crunch time in the quali session. We've got 2 laps remaining, so this one and the next one. Going into T1, down to 3rd, late apex, bit of curb on the inside, and we use all the exit curb. Currently on a 122.3, so a quick lap with 30 kilos ballast around here, but there's definitely another couple temps, 3 temps maybe in the lap, so we need to go and try and find that lap time. Don't want to overslow the car for T3, and use all the curb on the exit up until the end of the curb. Going into T4, this left-hander, really not a fan of this corner, but you need a late apex. We turn in a little bit early, carry a lot of speed to be fair, but TC0 on the exit, a bit of a wobble on there on the exit. In terms of traffic, we've got a Lexus and then an Audi in front of us, so it's not, I wouldn't say they're going to impede our laps at this point, but you'll see in a minute what happens. So 3rd gear for this right-hander, get a good amount of rotation, the Lexus gets out of the way. At this point, I'm just under 1/10 of a second up, so you know, we've got this lap and the next lap. I knew there was time in Sector 3 as well. The Audi pulls to the right-hand side, goes on the grass, and then does that. So, yeah, quite the anti-climax there. We've just been absolutely trolleyed on the exit of, I think it's Dingledale, the name of the corner. And we had, as I say, time in the 3rd sector of that lap. We were just under 1/10 up as well. We had the next lap. You can see there, he's gone onto the grass. He's tried to slow down. There's no grip on the grass. He's not done it on purpose. But it's just frustrating when someone's poor decision making like that. It was so needless as well. He wasn't even on a lap, and it just completely ruined our session. And yeah, even if we finished that lap a 10th up, we would have been 5th on the grid. Potential there to be top 4, I think, on the grid. So really frustrating, but it's just the way it goes sometimes. Had to get over that very quickly. 20-minute gap until the race, so it was very important I got my head in the right space before that. But yeah, let's go and see. We start 10th, it's not the end of the world. Let's go and see how we got on in the race. So then, into the race, and we're coming out the final corner on the warm-up lap. We've done all we can to get the tyres up to temp, the brakes up to temp, because that will manifest itself into the tyre and it will increase the pressure, which is what it's all about. And you'll never get them fully in the window, but you can get them fairly close. So approaching the start-finish line, waiting for the green flag. Tinitzer on pole in the Ferrari, and go. Away we go. So there we go, going into turn 1. There's a McLaren on our right-hand side. We can't commit to the inside, so we've got to lift off the throttle. Don't really want to be on the outside for turn 1, but I don't really have a choice. Bit of a tank slapper mid-corner there because the tyres are nowhere near the window. Going into T2, into first. We're just trying to basically avoid any contact, and you'll see there we failed to do that. I think Rogers there gets a bit of a tank slapper on, hits us, and then we hit the Merc on the left-hand side. So from that particular instant, we got 5 to 6 seconds worth of bodywork damage, which is not the end of the world, but it's not ideal. You do lose a fraction of lap time, but nothing major. And but arguably, you could say it was worth it. We jumped 2 people, so we jumped Locio and we jumped Rogers. So a good start. In 8th position, the Delta on the left-hand side we'll say was 17th for a minute, but it will sort itself out. And these first few laps really are just about avoiding trouble, avoiding curbs, avoiding the runoffs, even the grass, because when the tyres are low in pressure, it's easier to pick up a puncher, which will affect your whole stint. So I'm just really taking it easy, just kind of playing the long game. It's an hour race, which is a sprint race. This is the SRO Esports Sprint Series, so you would think it's gung-ho to the finish, but an hour is a long time, so you've got time to kind of make up the deficit. You know, we're P8. I don't intend on finishing P8, don't get me wrong, but I'm not going to rush it, because you could easily make a bit of contact and then end up P20, or even worse. So you get points from 1st to 10th, like F1, 25 for a win, 1 point for P10. So it's all to play for, and I'm going to play the long game, bide my time, and pick them off one by one as we go through the rest of the race. And so a few laps later, going into, I think it's like lap 7, we're still behind Whitehead in the Merc. We've got a nice little gap behind us to Rogers in the Porsche, 2.4 seconds behind us in a train of cars in front of us. And you can see there's just a little gap between the Merc and the Bentley in front of him. It gives me the indication he's starting to drop off in lap time, which is not ideal. We don't want to lose any time behind him, so I'm getting a bit impatient. And on the exit of T3, we get a good run. He gets a little bit of a oversteer moment, and To be fair to him, he doesn't really defend. I think he does kind of let me go. He brakes a bit early as well. He doesn't want to lose lap time with, fighting me. Smart, big brain play from Whitehead there. Respect that. He does flash me down this straight as well, indicating he wasn't really fighting that. So fair play. That's smart driving. Unfortunately, you'll see on the exit this right-hander, he does go off, which is which is a bit unfortunate. But nonetheless, I saw what he was doing, and fair play. So we got Butaloop, Siggy and McCormack ahead of us now, and we've got good race pace. We just need to catch them, put some pressure on, and hopefully we can gain a few more positions in a similar way to the one we just got there. And then it's clear to see then that the battle for fourth is really heating up between McCormack, Siggy and Butaloop in the Bentley. Butaloop he's kind of hanging back, he's playing it smart. I think you can see there's going to be an incident sooner or later between Siggy and McCormack, and he is not wrong, because on the exit of this right-hander you'll see the Merc goes completely onto the grass, which means he's going to be a bit compromised for the next few corners with a lack of grip. We managed to sneak through with the Bentley, passing McCormack on the left-hand side, and we move up to P6. So very fortunate for us there. We just had enough of a gap to sneak through, which is really good. P6 at this stage of the race was something I wasn't expecting with the pace of the cars in front. The Merc just seems to, I mean, it's obviously quick in quali because there's 2 cars in the top 8, but in the race it seems like there's a kind of a lack of longevity to keep that pace up over a stint. You see there on the exit of the final corner, we get a massive tank slapper, almost lost it and went onto the grass, but no harm done. We've got good race pace, we're driving under the limit, and we're able to keep up with Siggy in the top McLaren at this point. Tinitsa, Wisniewski and DeSalvo are gone. I think it's fair to say 3.5 seconds up the road, so I think, to be fair, the BOP was in their favour, so I was happy me and Siggy were able to give them a good run for their money. I do think they had a bit of an advantage, but easy to say that. And we just need to keep doing what we're doing, putting pressure on, don't go for silly moves. People will make mistakes, and strategy is going to come into it as well. So that is going to be key in this race. I didn't record it, but I did have Eamon Murphy from Yas Heat in my ears giving me, gaps, when to box, all this kind of stuff, which is massively helpful. If in this kind of race, having a spotter, it can be a game changer, especially from like wet to dry conditions, but even in these conditions, really important. To be honest then, for the next 20 minutes it was very metronomic, nothing really changed. We kept the same gaps to the car in front. We're just following Siggy. We're still losing a little bit of lap time, not too much, but a little bit per lap to DeSalvo. So at this point I'm kind of thinking to myself, this fourth, unless something happens up front, fourth is the maximum from this race, and that's still really good from 10th. I mean, this is the pinnacle of ATC, so it's a good result, especially with the BOP we had, I think. So you can see there the Bentley in front boxes. There's a 10-minute pit window in these races, so 25 minutes into the race to 35 minutes into the race you can box. You can't pit any time outside of that window, otherwise you get a penalty. So there's limited options with the strategy, but it still comes into play, and we can now crack on and see if we can drive up to the back of Siggy. So as I say, I set my cars up for the end of the race, so the more this race goes on, the stronger we're going to be. Even though the first few laps were a bit hairy with a lack of grip and just struggling to keep up with the cars in front, now we're starting to get into the rhythm we want to be in, and we're on TC3. We start the race on TC1, but as the grip of the tyres wear off, we go up to TC3, and I think from memory Murphy said we're going to have a bit of an overcut. The Bentley came out in traffic, which was good for us, and that's why we always try and really leave it to the end of the pit stop window, because if you come out in traffic, it doesn't matter how quick you are, you're going to lose time, and we're going to box this lap to capitalise on the Bentley. I'm pretty sure we didn't have time to do another lap, so this was the last opportunity to pit before you'd be outside the window. And Siggy, you'll see, does the same thing. I think we might have made it, but it was too risky, so we box anyway. Have to stay in the white lines in the pit entry, otherwise you get a penalty. We do send it a bit in the pit entry. We gain a little bit on Siggy, which is good. And we know, if you've watched any of my videos before, pit stops in ACC are crucially important. Hard to do, but with practice you can get them right pretty easily. So approaching the box, ignition off, make sure you hit your mark, so you go straight up, which does save you a bit of time. 3-second stop, you have to put 1 litre of fuel in, and that's it. No tyre change or anything like that. We didn't repair the damage either, because you're just wasting time. And we'll rejoin the track. And you can see there from the replay angle that Beauty in the Bentley is a fair way off. He's like 3 seconds off. So that was a Sebastian Vettel 2019 Singapore-esque overcut, wasn't it? Insane amount of lap time on the Bentley. Me and Siggy both. So we actually gained a bit of time as well to DeSalvo. And I forgot to mention, you know, if you look on the left-hand side there, Wisniewski, who was running P2, is now 14th with a stop-and-go 30-second penalty. I can't remember what that was for, but that's basically another position gained, and all of a sudden the podium looks like a possibility. So really good for us, and we now need to crack on, put pressure on Siggy for the rest of the race. Although we're trying to work with him to try and get towards DeSalvo, maybe with P2s on the cards. Let's see how it pans out. Into the latter stages of the race, then behind Siggy, we're right up behind him now, and we're able to kind of follow him really closely for a sustained amount of time, which is testament. You know, our race pace is really good. Like, we're arguably quicker than Siggy at this moment in the race, and in my head it's only a matter of time. You see there a back marker letting us through on the right, and then on the left, well, I don't know what's happened there, but someone's had a bit of a disaster, and we clear them pretty quickly. And still behind Siggy then, you can see in our rear view camera, behind the back marker, you may have seen that enormous Bentley lurking in the background. So he's approaching fairly quickly, so we're being held up a little bit by Siggy, not too much, but a little bit, and it's extremely hard to overtake at Brands, especially in the GT3 car. So on the exit of T1, I go for it. I get a good run. I do sort of commit, but then I have to back out because he defends quite well, and we go side by side into T2. At this point in the corner, I know I'm not going to get the move done, and I'm thinking, what am I doing? Well, I'm wasting time. We're catching DeSalvo in front now. The gap's at 2.3. That's him in front of us. I'm thinking about P2, you know, let alone P3. I think if we can get to DeSalvo and Siggy tries a move, it could be a similar scenario like earlier with McCormack, where they could make contact and I could sneak through. That's what I'm thinking at this stage of the race. So I'm thinking bigger picture, and but it's promising. We've got good pace. I think with 30 laps in, there's still a good 15 minutes left of the race. So yeah, it's so 50-50. Do you go for the move now, or do you play the long game and get him at the end? Yeah, it's a risky one, but you'll see what happens. Right then, so 3 laps to go. We're right behind Siggy. On the exit of the final corner, you can see he makes a little bit of an error. Not too much, but enough for us to get a run on him going down the start-finish straight. The Bentley behind us is, well, it's on us now. It's a 3-way fight, as it was earlier for this 3rd place. Lambo leading the pits there, not really in the way at all. And Siggy gets a good exit off T1. We get a slightly better one. He goes slightly defensive. Did he need to? Maybe not, but he's got it anyway. Unless he makes a big error, it's Brands Hatch. You're not really going to overtake him too easily round here. And you can see now, Beauty, he's a very clean, measured driver. In the experiences I've had racing him so far in the series, and it's good racing. I know he's not going to go for a silly move, which is what you love. You know, that's how all drivers should be. But some drivers do send it more than others. So I think, you know, if I don't make a mistake, I'm not going to drop back. I've got a guaranteed P4 if I make no mistakes. But I really want the podium. I've not had a podium in this series yet. This is the 4th round, and I've had a 4th before, a 6th. You can see that the Bentley in Sector 2, or Sector 3 even, is absolutely ridiculous, you know, right in our mirrors. And it's strange that, because I thought the McLaren would be better in this particular sector, but obviously the Bentley's got a very good BOP round here. You'll see on the exit as well of this corner, he's starting to weave on the straights to try and put me off, which it doesn't work, but I can see why he does it. I've been flashing Siggy for the last 20 minutes, so I can't really blame him for it. And with 2 laps to go then, we dropped a little bit back from Siggy, but we've got a little bit of a gap. You know, I say a gap, 0.2 of a second to the Bentley behind us, so it's enough to keep him behind, which is the main thing. But unfortunately, as close as we came, and on this final lap I was pushing everything. I said, stuff it, if I'm going off, I don't care, I want to get this podium. P2 is only up the road there. You can see DeSalvo 1.1 seconds ahead of Siggy. So close. Our final lap was the fastest lap of the race for us, and it just didn't go our way. You'll see Siggy, he's consistent, didn't make any mistakes, although we were quicker at the end of the race. it just didn't go our way. So we come across the line P4, a great result, second McLaren, very solid, but you know, a bit disappointing in the moment when you feel like P2 was on the cards. Only 9 seconds off Tinitza, which from where we started I think is a very credible effort. And you'll see this is against the best drivers in ACC, the SRO Esports Sprint Series, the pinnacle of ACC in esports. Some of the best esports drivers in the world, you know, Tinitza, F1 Esports World Champion, Josh Rogers, iRacing World Champion, the list goes on. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I hope you did as well. And if you did, give it a thumbs up, sub to the channel for more stuff like this. Sorry for the lack of content of late. I've moved house recently. There will be some content around that and the gaming room and all that kind of stuff in due course. But yeah, thanks for watching. And until the next video, I'll see you soon.